Good
What's
morning.
up, everybody?
Welcome.
Welcome.
Yeah, let's not do that again.
Inside joke.
Oh,
Here
man.
we are.
I can't believe it's Friday again already. Honestly, the weeks just
Honestly.
blow right by.
It all is a blur to me.
They say time flies when you're having fun, right?
It has not been fun.
Not been fun.
I
No.
mean, it's fun in an exhausting way having young kiddos. Like, you're going to look back on it and go, man, those were such great times. You just can't do that now because you're exhausted.
Right. There's no regret by any means. No regret. But I am
No
absolutely
regrets. Not even a single letter.
what?
Said no regrets. Not
No
even a single
regrets.
letter.
Yeah,
Classic.
no regrets. That's funny.
Regrets. I don't know.
Yep,
I don't know
yep.
what I'm saying. Don't worry about it.
So what
Anyway.
do we want to talk about today?
Yeah, good morning. I didn't have a plan, but Walter did.
Welcome.
And so welcome.
Yeah, we got the welcome part done.
We
I
got
all
it,
kinds of fun
Chris.
stuff to be talking about. I've been watching the market, but I can't help it. I'm a data-driven guy. So since we ended the call last Friday, I've been watching the news and watching the markets and watching the trends. So it's interesting. This is actually great timing too to do this on a Friday because the Fed updates the 30-year fixed rate mortgages on Thursdays. So it's a perfect opportunity for us to come on and say, hey, here's literally the fresh news. Here's what's happening. Anybody want to take a guess out there in live stream land what the interest rates did in the last week?
I'm pretty sure didn't they drop to zero?
Not quite.
Okay.
Not quite.
Well,
so they were 6.02 30-year fixed average last Friday when we got on this call. Everybody take a wild guess.
6.4.
Yeah, I heard somebody said it out in the audience. 6.29. Okay. They went up over 0.25% in a week. Love it. They're going to keep doing it too. So if you haven't bought your house yet, you better get your freaking house bought because they're going to keep going up.
Chris said 6.9. No.
7.2 by December.
Walter, you said 6.9? Someone said 6.9, or was that part of the range?
That's by the end of the year.
Right. I'm saying we're tracking. Oh,
yeah.
Or did I say 7.1?
I think you said 7.1. Walter said 6.9.
Walter said 6.9 to 7.2, and then
I made him.
Yeah.
We made him pick a number.
We'll just call it 7. They're going to be 7 by the end of the year. Maybe faster, honestly. So they might hit 7 before
the Fed has been wild, man.
Well, and it's not rocket surgery, right? Just listen to what's being said. The Fed, when they updated the Fed funds rate, said it's going to be painful. We are expecting to do a more than 1% basis increase again before the end of the year. So the Fed funds rate is going to go up 1 to 1.25% before the end of the year, and then it's going to go up more next year. Read the tea leaves. We're at 6.29% on the interest rate. A year ago, we were at 3.05. The Fed is saying we're not done. It's going to go up. Look at the 1980s. Anyone can go research the 1980s. See what the economy was doing. See what the energy crisis was doing. See what hyperinflation was doing. Watch what the Fed was doing to try to correct that and how that moved the overall economy, the overall mortgage process, the overall interest rates. It's not some highly cryptic thing that you have to decode. Just go look at the data, and you can go, yeah, feels like 1980, really, really close to 1980 at least. While things might be slightly different, the trends are 1980 trends. We're going to see higher interest rates. It was funny. I was running the numbers earlier because, again, data-driven guy, can't help myself.
Mm-hmm.
If you'd have bought a house 1 year ago today, your interest rate would have been roughly 3%. Home price, let's call it was a $400,000 home at 3% in the given market. That would have cost you about a $2,000 mortgage payment after you've factored in taxes and insurance.
Yeah.
If you were to go buy a house right now, right, that same $400,000 house is a $450,000 house now, maybe a little more. And the interest rate is now almost 6.5%. That's a $1,100 a month increase in your mortgage payment over a year. Now, Here's the thing. If you wait another year, let's say prices do absolutely nothing different. Let's say they completely stagnate year over year and home prices don't move an inch. That $450,000 house right now, next year is still a $450,000 house. Didn't move an inch. But the interest rates are now 8.5. Yeah, that's going to cost you an additional several $100s vice buying it right now. So the trend is still in your favor, right? Interest rates move your price, your purchasing power so much faster than the actual home price does. So if you're still needing to buy, get it bought because the interest rates aren't going down anytime soon. It's crazy. It's crazy. But it's predictable, right? It's very predictable, especially, like I said, when the Fed says we want our Fed funds rate to be 4.4% by the end of the year, and then we'll probably kick that up somewhere in the range of 4.6 to 4.75 in 2023. Well, it's at like 3 to 3.25 right now. So that's a full percentage more on the Fed funds rate by the end of the year. It's coming. Anyway,
it's pretty interesting. I think
another interesting thing that I was looking at, which some realtors will say, well, inventory this, inventory that.
Yeah.
Has anyone else looked at the home buyer sentiment? Home builder sentiment recently?
No.
That's an interesting one, right? So
I don't even know where you find that. Did you just post
National Association of Home Builders? They do a study.
That checks out.
The home builder sentiment is now in the negative, right? At 50% is like the median for positive or negative. It's at 46%. There's a subsection. This is where it gets really neat. There's a subsection of that study that's specifically the buyer index. The buyer index is at 31, meaning it's a very clear sign that the buyer demand for new home starts has eased up. And on top of that, when you look at new home starts, single family home starts have only gone up about 3.5%. Multifamily has gone up over 28%. Which tells you that the focal point right now for the builders are apartments, condos, units that can be purchased and potentially turned into rentals as opposed to being sold to an end user to be a home. And there's a lot of big banks, there's a lot of big hedge funds that are scooping those up fast, which is where the demand is at. So the builders aren't building single family homes for the average family. They're building apartment buildings for a hedge fund to go buy, and then they're going to turn around and rent it out to whoever wants to live in it. Crazy dynamics when you say, well, the inventory's tight. Yeah, it's tight because the builders aren't building single family homes. They're building more apartments to turn into rentals. So that's going to affect the long-term ability on people buying houses as well, because we're just not building that many. We're already at a shortage and we're not building many more.
I think that's all part of the plan too, though. I mean,
sure.
Ideally, the hedge funds, the people with a lot of money want to keep everyone renting.
Oh, yeah.
When somebody buys and owns their own home, they can't make money off of them forever. But whenever they rent, they just keep stocking it away.
Exactly right. It's crazy. It's crazy numbers out there. Anyway.
So.
All right. So there's more to this. So we had a lot of what I'm going to say is anybody watching is going to hear bad.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
No, I'm saying what anybody
who
isn't. Yeah, they're going to hear all of this stuff. Fed raises this. And there's something really important to learn from this today, whether you're a real estate agent who hasn't been through this or anything like that, whether you're a consumer, whether you're a coach, when things get tight like this is when opportunities open up. The opportunities that we have today, and I do say opportunities, good opportunities, they were not available 6 months ago. Most of my flipping and investor friends who know what they're doing are scooping up stuff now more than ever because they know their numbers and the interest rate doesn't scare them because they know how to navigate it. They're not buying in over their head. They're not excessively leveraging. They're looking and making calculated decisions. From this, sellers are turning around and saying, interest rates are going up. Oh no, nobody's going to buy my home. Maybe it's not worth as much. I'm going to sell it to anybody who gives me a decent offer. Right?
Yeah.
Even Chris
and we're seeing that data
from
point
experience right now. Chris has been, if you don't mind me, Chris, you know, you've
You're
been
good.
thinking about lowering your price, not because the value of your home has gone down, but because you have other things that you want to do with that equity. And it's a different market than it was 6 months ago. So you're considering a compromise that 6 months ago you would have thought was absurd. Am I right?
That's correct.
Chris isn't the only one.
Yep.
And you need a skilled agent. And this is where agents, we can come in now more than ever and show our skill and our expertise at putting deals together, at making opportunity happen to where you can help a seller who is afraid and you can help a buyer who is afraid, and you partner with the right lender, you partner with the right title and insurance, and you put together a package that makes sense for them. Now's a great time for some people who maybe they don't want to sell or move, but maybe they are looking to get into investments. Don't just look at it, oh, nobody will sell. I hear that all the time. And I'm like, did you know that even earlier this year, people said they wouldn't sell? And last year, agents told me people wouldn't sell. And the year before that, agents told me people wouldn't sell.
Always people that have to sell. There's always people that have to buy. The market does not stop. Never has, never will.
If the housing market stopped, just ask the president, any president this. If the housing market stopped, America would be crumbling. The housing market is one of the key indicators for basically the economic strength of America. I mean, that is just in fact, President Trump had mentioned that several times. I'm not sure if President Biden had. I know that President Obama has. I mean, every president before them who had a lick of sense, they know that the housing market is a strong indicator, because
That's why the last one hasn't said anything about it.
well, that's a different topic.
Yeah. But no,
so I want to say that I wanted to say that because I know it's scary right now. As an agent, as a consumer, it feels really scary, and everybody's telling you to be afraid. But the reality is watch the people who make money. The people who are making money are going, this is an interesting market. What can I do in it?
Yep.
How do I make money from this? You can make money in a recession. Don't forget that. Aldi, one of the biggest grocery chain stores in existence, was born out of the economic disaster after Germany was defeated. That's where Aldi came from. Okay? It literally came from that. And now it is one of the largest, most successful grocery store chains in the world. But it was born out of one of the worst economic times in Germany's history. So opportunity is now. For me, even, I'm actually I'm seeing people putting their houses on the market, then seeing price drops. Again, that doesn't mean the value of the home is going. It can mean one of two things: impatience. The seller is like, I'm ready to move on. I can afford to get this sold sooner. I can afford the requirement that it would take that, or it was overpriced based off market data. So opportunity is here, guys. And agents, if you don't know what that opportunity is, you need to get educated. You need to get around people who will teach you. Consumers, you need to have an agent who will guide you through the process. Don't listen to the feds. The feds aren't teaching you how or what. They're reactive. They don't teach you how to make money. They just tell you how bad money has been managed. That's what they say. Money's been managed poorly, guys. We got to do something.
That's never going to change.
Yeah. So don't look to them as your indicator of whether now. Why would you look to them? Why would you ever look to the feds as whether now is a good time? They're always 10 steps behind, and it's always a negative outcome. The feds are never like, oh, hey, guys, America's had a surplus.
Yeah, that's because they don't know how to spend less than they actually bring in.
Oh,
Shocker,
man.
right? Spend less than you make.
So let's talk about opportunities, because I think this is a really important thing. Let's talk about, because I want to have some empathy for brand new agents coming into this mess after they have been told by their peers or watched their peers or heard from the brokerages that said everything's flying off the shelves and it's easy to be a real estate agent, blah, 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 blah. So you're a new agent, you're coming in, you're willing to work hard. So let's take away the individual factors of willingness to work and diligence. Let's remove those from the picture. How do they come in and find opportunity? We'll say not for themselves. They don't have a bunch of capital themselves. They're a brand new agent. They're still building on. So how do they find opportunity for clients right now? Sellers and buyers. What's the opportunity? When interest rates are going up, sentiment's going down, builders are shifting focus to multifamily. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So I think there's always opportunity in the real estate market because like we just said, the real estate market never stops. Yeah, you won't be able to sell a house for 105% of list price in 3 days. Guess what? That's not how real estate typically works anyway. Right now, the trend is only 35%. This is as of August, only 35% of homes sold over list price now. We're back to about a 99% list to sales ratio. That'll probably come down a little bit more in the next few months. And guess what? That's perfectly normal. Some houses are underpriced. Some houses are overpriced. When you average it all out, they usually sell for somewhere in the range of 98 to 100%. So we're right at 99 right now. But compare that to 6 months ago, where houses were selling for 105, 110, sometimes 115% of their list price because it was a mad scramble. That alone presents the opportunity for a buyer to not have to go crazy and overpay and gap an appraisal and have an extra $15,000 come out of their own pocket when they just need a place to live, right? You're back into a market now where you can buy a home at a regular price point without these crazy hoops to jump through, and you can get your family into the home that you need to be in anyway. So that alone is an opportunity. If you're looking at it from the perspective of opportunities to invest, you have to be very selective. You have to know your budget and your numbers, but it's always been that way, right? You in this market where prices aren't so crazy and it's not so competitive because the demand is coming down, it's now a little bit easier for investors to stop and look at what's on the market and pick out a deal, as opposed to trying to get a deal when everything is selling for 110% of list price. That's a little challenging. So we're just getting back to a regular market where relationships matter. You have to be able to have a conversation with your buyer or your seller about what they truly need. When do they need it? And what's that line between let's try to maximize our value and I have to have sold the house by this point, so I'm willing to reduce or make concessions or give a buyer a buy down on their rate to try to make this easier. There's so many great conversations that can be had right now to bring a buyer who needs a home and a seller who needs to sell together and say, let's put together the deal that benefits everybody. And those deals are out there all day long.
Chris, because I know even prior to the current economic times, one of the things that you would tell people and try and teach agents to do while you yourself were doing it was putting deals together. I mean, you'd always say that there's always a way to get a deal, even if it's a referral, but there's always something you can do to be a part of a deal and make something happen. So, talk about some of the opportunities that you feel are present in this current market.
So, I've got a lot of opportunities landing on my plate. There's a lot of sellers, like you talked about, the people that are like, look, I need to sell now. And there's people that are looking to sell off market. I mean, I've got some deals with some equity coming across my table. Even yesterday, I was getting calls like, hey, look, this is worth probably somewhere in the 410, 425 range. Sellers need 350. And they're willing to walk, and they've done all these updates already, and they're like, just needs a few more updates and it's market ready, but they run out of cash, whatever. They just have to sell. There's different things like that coming up. So, constantly increasing your sphere, letting people know that you're the resource, know that you can move stuff like that, keeping an investor pipeline right now. Anytime you're an agent, you always want to build your pipeline. Right now, having those investors that are cash heavy is a good spot to be in if you're good at coming up with deals and networking, and the off market stuff is really where a lot of those investors like to land. So keeping an eye on that stuff. Personally, my goal is I'm trying to gear up to be a little bit more cash heavy. So going back to what Robert was talking about, I've got $300K worth of equity in my current house that I'm selling. Well, I'm probably willing to take closer to 275 as far as what I take cash out of it in order. I lose 25 grand worth of equity, but then at that point I'm cash heavy. So if I'm cash heavy, I can easily make up that 25K that I lose on a different deal. So that's the way I look at it. If it's all tied up and I can't move it around, it doesn't do me any good. So it's honestly better if I just go ahead and move it and on to the next one. And, you know, maybe I buy another deal and I make 100 grand off of being able to move that money around.
Exactly.
So, or 50, whatever it is. That's the kind of stuff that I'm looking at currently. So in my own personal business, I'm trying to stay cash heavy for just a little bit here as I kind of watch some of this stuff. If I'm staying cash heavy on that side of things and I don't have to get loans, then the interest rate doesn't matter. So by being cash heavy, I can pay cash for whatever flip or property or project I want to buy. And then it's not really as dependent on the rates. So unless I do some kind of cash out refi and decide to keep one, but in which case I can still sustain that as long as I'm, once again, pretty cash heavy and find the right deal with the numbers that work. So
yeah,
hopefully that's what you were looking for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead, Walter.
I was just going to say, and if you're a seller trying to, I think one of the greatest things, nobody really, well, people are starting to talk about it, but a lot of agents really aren't wrapping their head around this yet. If you're a seller and you're trying to get your home sold, one of the best things you could do right now, and it's, you know, you can do it, you just got to think about it, offer a rate buy down to your purchaser, right? As a quick example, on average, and there's every lender is slightly different, it's going to vary, but on average, 1 point will bring your interest rate down about 0.25%. So let's say rather than give your seller or your buyer a closing cost concession of 3 to 4%, just do a 3 to 4% rate buy down, and you will reduce that buyer's interest rate by 0.75 points. That's hundreds of dollars a month for the life of that loan that you just saved that buyer. That's a massive value proposition, as opposed to, well, here's 12 grand now, do whatever you want with it. How about here's $300 a month off your mortgage payment for the next 30 years, right? That makes it easier for the purchaser to come in and buy your house because now their actual monthly budget has been reduced because the interest rate buy down. It costs you the same whether you do an interest rate buy down or you give them a seller concession at closing. You're still the same cash outlay, but it's a dramatically different value proposition to your purchaser when you're trying to get your home sold. So, you know, ask your agent about talking to the lender about, hey, what's a rate buy down look like for us? How much would it cost me at this price of my home if I wanted to try to do a 0.5% or a 0.75% rate buy down for the purchasers as a perk to get my home sold where no one else is trying this? That's a great tip for the sellers and the sellers agents out there, right? Go talk to your lender about a rate buy down.
So, and when you're looking at that rate buy down, just for those that are listening in that have never looked at doing that or tossed that around. So, Walter, you were basically like, look, if you do a rate buy down, you know, at 10 grand, you're probably talking about $300 a month, something along those lines for that interest. So if you were to take that $10,000, divide it by 300, and then divide that number by 12, you're looking at 2.7 years. So in about 2.7 years with that rate buy down, you have the option of, you could have taken that $10,000 and paid it towards closing cost, as long as the buyer keeps the 10 grand in their bank, gets some kind of yielded interest rate towards that, even if it's a little bit, and uses that $300 a month that they saved to pay that extra $300 a month. As long as they refi in the next 2.5 years, it could make sense to go ahead and make that $10,000 chunk payment up front towards closing costs instead of the rate buy down.
Right.
That's a conversation that you have to have, and you got to look at both options there. So it's not always at face value exactly what you're looking at. You got to do the numbers and hedge. What are interest rates going to be in 2.5, 3 years? We don't know. So, you know, there's a lot of changes that are going to happen over that time. Yeah. So I personally think in the next 2.5 to 3 years that we're probably going to be in the 4s. that's probably where I think we're going to land. I think that they're going to have to fix something because they're not going to let the economy completely go stagnant. I think things will start to tick up a little bit over time. I think interest rates will be back down in the 4s 2.5 years from now. What is today? Go ahead, mark my words on that one.
Not financial advice, by the way. Everybody
not financial advice.
But none of this is financial advice. It's pure speculation based off our understanding and interpretation of the data available.
Yeah.
Just want to put that out there.
Yeah. I would argue that I think they're going to be just the opposite, but that's okay because that's just based on looking at longer terms. Longer
2.5 years.
Yeah, in 2.5 years, I think they're going to be higher, but that's okay.
Higher than where we are now, or
higher than where we are now. To your point, though, that you hit it on a point there, right? So whether you're going to do seller concessions up front, whether you're going to do a rate buy down, what you want to calculate as the buyer on that deal or the seller on that deal is what's my break even point, right? How long does it take me to make this deal better one way or better the other? And then it's just about your personal situation, right? It'll take me 2.7 years. Am I still going to be in this house in 2.7 years? Might something change that I just sell this house and go do something else, right? You got to think about those dynamics and determine which of those break-even points make the most sense for you. And that's kind of what he was talking about with that math. That helps you determine which of these makes the most sense for my specific situation. Yep. And then know your budget, right? Know your budget, know what you can afford, and don't get over your head on it.
Also know your ability to stick to that budget. There's a knowing the budget and there's a sticking to the budget, because if they go drop that 10 grand that was supposed to be saved in an account to make that extra payment.
Are you making a sly attempt to dog on that one particular brokerage that yet again is firing a bunch of people because they can't manage their budget? Is that what that was?
I don't know that I was using
just
that
checking.
to insinuate that, but
maybe that's just on my mind as a guy who teaches finance.
Trying to go down that rabbit hole.
Gotcha. That's another beautiful point.
I'm talking about all of Dave Ramsey's clients that don't know how to manage their budget, which is why he has to go off on one very far tangent. That's the people that I was speaking to on that.
Okay. So not necessarily that particular brokerage.
Gotcha. Probably more so not that particular brokerage compared to that. But
I gotcha. The principles don't change though.
I think a lot of that stuff, you're correct. A lot of that stuff though, they are paying it up front, and that's the problem. Yeah. They don't have the money stuck away that they're paying it out. It's just they're gambling. It's like here you go, here's a bunch of money.
Yeah. So it's funny. There's a lot of data. There's a lot of news. There's a lot of data points in that vein of, hey, get your finances in order, right? You can't spend your way out of debt. You have to have some money, right? It's not just that one particular brokerage who just announced they are yet again laying off hundreds of their staff because they're broke and they've never. Funny, I looked at the history. That particular brokerage has never turned a profit a single month in existence.
That's not the Wall Street way.
As this market moves and as interest rates come up and as revenues go down because there's less buying and selling, that's a bad spot to be in as a brokerage. That's a bad spot to be in as an agent at that brokerage.
Well,
but even looking at outside the brokerage, like Opendoor just announced that they lost, again, shifting market. They caught themselves up in the middle. They weren't managing their money right. They were making way too many speculative investments, riding out what they thought was a market trend. Opendoor just announced that they have now, as of August, lost money on 42% of their deals. That is not how you invest. Right? You have to analyze the deal, analyze the numbers, buy the ones that make sense. You can't just go buying everything up and hope for the best, which is what they did.
I'm just going to throw this out there. 50% of the time, they win every time.
Well, 42% of the time, they don't. And if they're losing more money on the 42%, get this, right? If they're losing more money per transaction on the 42% that they're losing money on, than the money they're making on the, 58% that they're winning on, they're still losing overall, right? If I lose $50,000 per deal 42% of the time and I make 10 grand per deal 58% of the time, I'm still going bankrupt soon. That doesn't work. Anyway, so that's Opendoor, folks. Yet again, iBuyers not knowing what they're doing, scooping everything up, being silly.
They're still making offers, but now it's no longer paying well. They're $100,000 under ask.
Yeah, it's silly. Like I don't know why anybody would use them at this point. Crazy.
So let's talk about that for a second. So it's a bunch to kind of unpack there. So one is, and Chris knows firsthand from experience that at that particular brokerage, there are people who said, it doesn't affect me.
It will.
Quote unquote, it doesn't affect me. Listen, that mindset is going to get you into trouble.
Yeah.
It really is. That mindset is going to get you into trouble because the number one draw, ask anybody at that particular brokerage, the number one draw was twofold: technology and then having admin support staff that did work for you. Okay. I'm trying to keep it vague and respectful. Okay. But that was absolutely, I was at that brokerage. It was the draw. It was awesome. 740 was it, Walter, by estimations based off of the last round of layoffs?
Last layoffs was 450 based on the severance package estimates. We're looking somewhere in the range of 7
now,
to
obviously
so well over 1,000. Well over 1,000.
When we say the cuts, they totally wouldn't lay off anybody. It's all the CEOs, right? And CFOs, right? They're the ones
all of the technology support team in the company that build themselves as a tech company.
What? That just seems so
I love
unlikely.
that quote from a former employee who was with that brokerage and just got laid off. He's in the tech team. He said, and I'm quoting the gentleman who just got laid off from that particular brokerage, "This is like an MMA fighter cutting off their own arm to try to make weigh-ins." You're taking a company that built themselves and branded themselves as a tech company, and now you're firing all of your tech staff to try to save money.
Now, here's the thing. This is why, okay.
That's crazy.
The moment they came out and I started to see their moves, I said, here's another Wall Street company who's just here to over leverage, mess around, play the Wall Street crappy game. Because at the end of the day, the people at the top win. They did win. They have great payouts. They have so much equity that they've been able to sell and share. Watch their trades. You see, they've been selling, and so everybody goes, they wouldn't do that. A particular CEO of the company says, his mom was a real estate agent. He would never do exactly what he's doing. Guys, look at the company. It was designed to do exactly what it's doing, which was milk money from investors and milk money from agents when the investor money ran dry. That's as simple as it is. It's basically a honeypot. And if anybody doesn't know what that is, it's basically where you put money in, but you can't get money out. And so that happened. Now, it does affect your business. It does affect your client's perception of the industry, the state of our economics. You think that when a major brokerage is suffering like this, that people don't look at it and go, oh, it's fine. They go, look at that, a big brokerage, even them, and they're all tech, and they're fancy, and they had Wall Street money, and even them, they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it, and people do think that way, right? Because they don't know the back end. They don't know what's really happening, and the other side of it is the agents there. Guys, you are footing the bill. Your services are getting cut, and instead of being proactive and shifting your business sooner than later over to something that is more sustainable, I don't care where, just that is not bleeding like this. Now you're going to have less support, less services, and you're going to need to transition. Let me remind you too, that when they were at their peak and not as, what's the word I'm trying to do? Bleeding as much as they are. They were more willing to accommodate some of the chargebacks that they had. They kind of canceled out some of the debts that agents owed when they left. You think that's going to happen now when you leave? Absolutely not. They're going to look for every last dime that they can squeeze out of you before they go.
Yeah.
Why do that to yourself, and why do that to the industry?
Yeah. Think about it from the perspective of personal finance, because finance is finance. I don't care if you're a mega corporation, if you're Wall Street, if you're an individual person running your budget, finance is finance. If you were losing money every single month. Every month you had a budget and you spent more than you made, eventually you're filing bankruptcy. There's no way around it. You're going to collapse under that poor financial management. Your partners that you're surrounding yourself with should also be astute with their money and know how to wrangle it and manage it and make it. And if they've constantly lost money, at some point that is going to be a catastrophe. Don't wait until the catastrophe affects your personal business to try to make a change on that. Get ahead of that early, right? Nobody is immune to spending more money than they make, regardless of the size of the corporation.
And remember too, and this is kind of the ironic part, but I would say real estate agents, even more than that, brokerage, are the face of our industry. And here's the thing, like, these same real estate agents were the ones that were mocking Zillow and posting about Opendoor losing money from bad business practices. And do you know what they said? They said, I told you, they're a crappy company. They're bad for our industry. They set a bad sentiment. They do poor business. Don't work with them.
They can't last because they're losing money.
They can't last. Don't work with them. While they go and pay probably one of those companies for leads, while also paying splits to another company that's bleeding.
Yeah.
Guys,
crazy.
I don't care what company it is. I don't. And that's why we're not even saying the name, because that's not the point. The point is you are a leader, large or small. You are a leader in your industry, in this industry, in your sphere. You have to make good business decisions. You can't partner with people who crush businesses, who fail at business. Why would you ever associate with that? Why?
Jim Rohn hit the nail on the head. For those who don't know Jim Rohn, he's an old school business coach. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Think about the people you're surrounding yourself with, whether in life, in business, in your brokerage model, wherever. Think about the 5 people you spend the most time with. And if they're not wise with their money, if they're not business focused, if they're not forward thinking, if they're not goal oriented, if they're not willing to pour into you as a person and help you be business focused and goal oriented, are they the best people for you to be surrounded with long term? Right? That truth has been universal forever. Jim Rohn just happened to say it decades ago and put it on a quote. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Pick the people very wisely. So, all right, that's probably enough on that subject. What else we got to talk about today?
I think it would be interesting still to talk a little bit more about the different types of agents and what they could be doing to take advantage of this market, because I think that there's some real practical steps that can be taken. So I'm going to start to give you guys an example of what I'm saying. So I'm going to start from a team leader's perspective. All right, team leader, you've got new agents, you've got average agents, and you got maybe 1 or 2 top agents, right? Statistically, most of them are going to be towards the new low range because that's just our industry standard. You might have 1 or 2 top agents. They're looking to you, team leader, to lead the way into this crazy mess of situation. What do you do? Okay, well, first, team leader, go get educated. I know it's boring and it sucks and whatever. I often didn't do it myself. I'm confessing right here. I often didn't do it myself. But when I did, my conversations with agents changed. I was not afraid. I was not uncertain. I was able to give clear, concise, confident answers and support. So first thing is you need to go get educated. You're going to be useless if you don't know what's happening, if you don't know why it's happening, and if you don't have any kind of basis for the advice you're going to give agents on what to do. How on earth can you tell them, here's what you should do in this market, and you don't even know the numbers of what's happening in the market? So get educated. That's number 1, which little spoiler alert, eventually we will be doing, to our best of our ability, some national numbers updates once a month. It's in the works. So we will be a resource for you when that time comes to kind of just have a discussion around that. All right. Number 2, first of all, you need to know your agent's numbers. You need to know how much money they need to make, because that is their bottom line. When things get tight, They're not looking at the yacht anymore. They're just making sure they can keep the lights on, that the car payment is paid. If they can meet their bare minimum, they will probably stay in real estate.
Yep.
They will probably stay in real estate. So you need to know what that bare minimum is so that you can design them a plan and give them advice to make sure they're at least meeting their needs. Forget about the yacht. Forget about the 6th car. Focus on what they need right now, because again, if you help them achieve that, they'll probably stick it with you. They'll probably stick it out through this tough time. And because when people's needs are met, statistically, this is a world fact. Like, they're more amicable, they're more willing to work, they're more peaceful, they're more willing to listen. If you believe in God, that's why Jesus fed people before he shoved doctrine down their throat. He said, "You're hungry? Here's some food. Now listen to my advice." Do the same thing for your agents. You hungry? Great. Here's some food. Now listen to my advice. Okay. Those plans, you need to be honest with agents. You need to tell them the truth. If they're calling 100 people a month, but they want to sell 50 homes that year, you need to tell them the truth. They're not doing enough, and they need to do more. It is a tight market. They're going to have to work harder. They're going to have to adapt and grow. So now you need to go and educate your agents on reality. But you can't do that if you don't know the numbers and you don't know their numbers and their goals. The other part of it with all that numbers and goals is you need to know how many hours they're working. I was shocked. I assumed that all the agents we partner with were going to work 40 to 50 hours a week. I just assumed. Why? Because that's when I go full-time in a career, I go full-time. And to me, full-time is 40, 50 plus hours a week. I learned that there were agents who are like, I can confidently commit to 20 to 25. That's not wrong. What was wrong is that I assumed I knew that their commitment level. My whole business plan for them changed. My advice changed because they had 15 to 20 hours less a week that they were working. So that's what I'm going to suggest if you are a team leader right now. The last part, which I think Chris is phenomenally good at this, is cut expenses, cut waste, get rid of crap that you don't need to do. If you are spending $10,000 a month on Zillow, even though there are other lead gen strategies. I'm not dogging on Zillow. I'm saying there are other lead gen strategies that you could do for free or almost free that can generate the same amount of leads or more.
Better quality.
Yes, it's going to require you more work up front to do it. But if you do that, you're going to save a ton of money. You're going to control your lead gen, and you're not feeding a beast who is an outspoken advocate for putting agents out of business or making them W-2 employees who work for them. So go look at those expenses. Go look at what you're spending
just
money on.
Imagine if all we had was the MLS and the clients that wanted to call and talk to the agent actually called and got the listing agent, and it wasn't some paid ad, some paid source for somebody who's just sitting there waiting for the phone call to ring so they can go show them the house that they didn't do anything besides pay a lead company to get. Just imagine if the people that were actually doing the work were the ones getting the calls for the agents rather than people that are paying for it.
All right, scenarios.
Yeah.
I'm going to give each one for you guys, okay? So, Chris, I'm going to give you top producing agent in a local market, okay? Because you are a top producing agent. You're in a local market. So that's going to be your scenario. And Walter, your scenario is going to be a coach, a real estate coach. There are a ton of them. And it's easy to coach when times are good.
Yeah.
But how do you coach right now? So, Chris, let's go to you first. You're a top producing agent in this market, but you are fearful. There are top producing agents right now who are top producers because of the last 2 years. I have met several agents who are like, I've had a good run, or I shut off Zillow. I literally, kid you not, just got a message from someone who said, I was a top producer. I'm shutting off Zillow. Now I'm struggling. So, Chris, come in. Why don't you share as a top producer who does not pay for leads?
Yep. So first things first, this is a relationship business and it's a numbers business. So the way I look at it is I have to have a certain number of conversations and build a certain number of relationships. those conversations must have something that leads to real estate conversations at some point. Is it blatant and upfront? Usually not. Usually I play the 20 questions game and I let the natural conversation eventually flow into somebody asking me what I do, whatever it is. Then it gets into real estate. Then they start asking questions. Then I become that voice for them in the back of their head. They think me when they think real estate. And then I add them on Facebook. All my content that I post, they see. And then it's just this constant cycle of build a new relationship, meet a new person, add them on Facebook. They see my content. And then before you know it, they're calling me saying, hey, I need to sell my house. I need to buy another one, whatever it is. Hey, my cousin's moving to town. Can you help them find a house? That conversation flow is natural for me. I try to also find things in order to, on a weekly basis, meet new people and continually connect with those same people over and over again. Whether that be a sporting event, playing poker, church, whatever it is, you need to be in front of those people, in my opinion, on a weekly basis with some kind of structured thing that also involves some kind of socialization afterwards. So if you go to church, you hear the sermon, great. If there's no socialization, it's not doing you any good. If that is one of your one of your life building. So I look at that as more of like life building. It's not just business building, that's life building, right? So you're getting your spiritual life built up, but there's no reason why you can't have your spiritual life built up and your business built up at the same time. That's my opinion. But whatever it is, you have to structure things to where you're doing it on a weekly basis. It's structured. You're following up with those people. You're constantly staying connected on an emotional level. And then the other thing is looking at different ways of creating an asset that you own that for me, it's Facebook groups. So I build up Facebook groups in order to build consistent leads of people that are looking to move to the area. Most of the people that are coming through my Facebook groups are people that have never talked to an agent before. They're considering thinking about buying a house. They're still early on in their stage. So if I can catch them on the front end and build a relationship with them, talk to them a little bit over time, maybe 6 months, 9 months, 12 months down the road, even 5 years down the road, whenever they're ready to move here, I still may be the only agent they've ever talked to. The statistics show us that most people use the first agent they talk to. So I want to be on the front end of whoever they talk to. I want to be that first person. And I want to be the person that puts them into the CRM and has that natural follow-up, even if it's just a weekly email and possibly some listings going out to them. Whatever it is, I want to stay consistent. They'll open the emails, they'll read them, they'll check them. Once again, it could be 12 months before I finally get paid off that, but that's okay. That's the natural progression. I know that it doesn't matter. Anything that I do in this real estate business is 6 to 12 months is when I expect to get paid. So those people coming into the industry, especially now, it's probably going to take longer than the last 2 years. The last 2 years, everybody was motivated. Right now, buyers are dragging their feet. You're probably closer to that 12-month mark. So anything that you do right now, you're going to get paid in 12 months for. As a team leader, I'm telling all of my agents that, look, like you've got to fill your pipeline now, but you have to fill your pipeline later as well. So you have to look for those A clients, service them now, but you have to have a bunch of B, C, and D clients to fill that pipeline. That way in 12 months, you're still doing well then too. And you're starting to reap those rewards, reap those benefits, and reap those referrals.
Chris, so that was amazing. I loved all of it. So Chris, just for everybody listening, if you know off the top of your head, last 12 months, how many homes closed that you've done? Off the top of your head.
52.
Okay.
I don't know, something
so he's no joke, guys, right? Now, Chris, how much are you spending every month to get those homes closed? Lead gen, marketing, not talking about team stuff, right? You for your business. Is it $1,000, $2,000, $5,000?
I have a virtual assistant I pay $600 a month for full time.
She does stuff outside of that business for you too. So we'll take $200 off of that. So
right. She runs my weekly email campaign. She runs my Google account. She runs all the different Facebook groups I have. She does the back end of all of that stuff and several other things. She helps with social media stuff, creates post and content for the team, is creating post and content for our entire downline organization. Whatever I ask her to do, she's like, yep, on it. She's watching trainings. Like literally, I can give her a training, be like, hey, go watch this. She'll go watch it. I try to watch it too. Most of the time she gets it done faster than I do. And then I just like ask her whatever question. I'm like, hey, look, like, how do we do this? Or half the time now with my weekly emails, I'll give her a video or a topic and she'll write up the email. I'll take a look at it. I'll say, make this change, and it's going out.
All right. 2 follow-up questions. Okay.
Sure.
So then
we're at,
as the market gets tighter, which I think we all agree it is tighter, did you add additional expenses, like significant additional expenses? Did you start buying Zillow leads? Did you start?
Not. So I'm looking for ways to continually to add assets as affordably as possible and still cut down my spending. I have no problem paying for assets that I own. After, like, once it's done, I paid one time, and then, I've got my little bit of monthly VA to help me manage everything. But other than that, I look for assets, things that I can own that will pay me residually forever. So that's okay. What I'm looking at.
So you're adding assets. Notice a trend here of what we said earlier about opportunity in this market. The assets aren't always just houses, agents. Remember that. There's assets to be added. And then, Chris, are you taking a vacation every day, working less, not really putting in any effort to build your business through this time?
I don't really know what that really feels like. Do I do I vacate? Yes. A lot of people that follow my schedule know that I'll go to Florida, on average about a week a month. It's been a little bit less lately because we just bought another house and doing some different things, and I got a 6-month-old, so there's some changes. But on average, I travel about a week a month. Now, whenever I'm down there, I still don't miss these calls. I'm still doing deals. I'm still closing deals. I'm still helping all my clients. I'm still working. On average, even if I'm on vacation, I'm still at least putting in 20 hours a week.
So here's why I asked, Chris. Okay?
Baseline minimum.
I already knew your answers. Here's why I asked. I want everybody to understand. Chris sold a buttload of homes. He's still selling homes. And when the market got tighter, he didn't instantly increase spending out of fear. And he also didn't decrease workload. It shifted. He said, I'm going to look at my expenses, make sure that they are where they should be, highest and best use, income generating assets. Okay. And then he didn't reduce, which I literally know agents right now who are throwing their hands up saying, it's just the market. I'm going to wait until people are ready. They are never ready. Ever. Never. Okay? So the reason why I'm saying that is if you want to be a top producer, now is not the time to over leverage yourself and decrease your workload. Now is the time to make sure every expense that you are putting out is bringing something in.
In my opinion, currently we have a pretty good opportunity to take market share currently. Because
do we ever?
Is the number of agents that have come into the industry thinking, hey, I can come in, my aunt, cousin, whoever that wants to buy or sell a house is going to use me. I'm going to do my 3 or 4 deals a year. I'm going to make some money. Yep. And then I think they're going to quickly realize, well, now everybody's pumped the brakes. Now they've got the $2,000 a year going out and no money coming in. And, all of a sudden they're like, maybe this wasn't for me. And then there's going to be a lot of attrition on the agent side of things. And then the other thing is, like you said, even the agents that were spending money on Zillow leads that are cutting back, that because they were spending money on Zillow leads, they have no idea how to scale or build a business without that. They're also going to be gone.
Yep.
So we have a mix of part-time agents that won't be able to afford to stay in business, and the full-time agents that don't know how to scale or run a business. And I think there's going to be a lot of people that disappear.
Walter, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So your scenario is I'm going to give you like a slash. Okay. You're twofold. Because I think they're very similar roles at the end of the day in the way that we do it. You do it. You are a real estate coach / recruiter. In other words, your goal is you want agents in your ecosystem. You want them in your sphere. You want them partnered with you in some fashion, okay? So, because I think any good recruiter is a good coach, and I think any good coach is also a recruiter. So that's why I kind of put it that way. So That's your scenario. In this market, new agents, team leaders, brokerages, top producers, whatever you want to talk about, but as from that perspective.
So in this market, doesn't even matter as a coach, as a real coach, doesn't matter. Here's what I would say first. If what you do as a coach is to constantly speak to other people and tell other people how they should build their business, you're not a coach. You're just a talking, mouthpiece. If you're a coach, you need to care more about other people's business than your own. And you need to be able to, one, listen to what their goals, their dynamics, their life situation is. Two, don't tell them how to fix it. Show them how to fix it. And what I mean by that is, Robert hit on it earlier when he talked about you got to know your numbers, you got to know how you're doing it, you got to know your expenses. The first thing I do when we bring a new agent into the Carbon Club is I get on a Zoom call with them and I walk through who they are as a person, what do they have going on in their family dynamic, what's their communication style, what's their personality type, what's their business philosophy, and then we can start breaking down which strategies best align with you and your business. Once we figure that out, I can point them to the right resources, because there's no point showing them 80 different ways to do this business if 3 is what they need. So I'll show them the 3, and then we will sit down and I'll walk them through a quick, simple exercise where I help them understand what is your market numbers, what's your average commission, your median sales price, what are your annual revenue goals. Let's break that all the way down into how many transactions do we have to close for you to get you there. Now that I know what you need for your business, let's get you the training. Let's get you the resources. Let's get you the mentorship that aligns with who you are as the CEO of your business. I can sit here and talk all day about different ways to do business, but if I just talk at agents about what they should do, that doesn't help them at all. They need to see what they should be doing. They need to come to the realization for themselves. These are the things that I have to do to grow my business. I'm not going to do what Walt did. I'm not going to do what Chris did. I'm not going to do what Robert did. I'm going to do what feels right to me to grow my business. Now I just need the right resources to be able to execute on that. The reason that we have such a high failure rate, I firmly believe this, these two things are tied together. The reason this industry has such an incredibly high failure rate is because there is an incredibly high number of agents who never build a plan for their business, and therefore they never execute on what they need to be executing on to grow their business. Some of them are lazy and just don't, but most of them simply don't know how, because they get talked to and talked to and talked to all day long, and they never learn it for themselves and internalize it. So now it matters to me. I'm going to go put in the hours because I've come to the realization that this is my business and how I want to grow it. That's it. That's it.
And I heard you say talk too. I heard you say talk too, but in reality, a lot of it's talking at.
Yeah.
It's not even talking to. Talking to.
A lot of fancy sound.
I consider that a conversation. Talking. They're like talking at. They're telling instead of having a conversation.
Yep.
About it.
Yep. And then at the end of the day, the one last thing I'll say, as a coach, put the coach hat on. If you truly care about other people's business, you have to pour into them as much as you possibly can, give them every resource, help them discover it for themselves. But you also have to realize it's their business. And if they choose not to run and grow their business after you've poured your heart and soul into helping them do it, that's okay. Do not take it personally. Because in a real coaching business where you truly care about other people, it can be really easy to get down and be depressed almost because you've poured your heart and soul into helping somebody grow and they simply don't execute. You've given them everything they need. You've walked them through the process, handed them the resources, and the one thing you can't do for them is grow their business. And when they choose not to, when they make the mental choice not to execute, it almost feels personal, right? It's very easy to be frustrated by that because I gave you everything you needed. You didn't do anything with it. So as a coach, you have to detach yourself from that outcome and understand that I'm going to give you everything I can give you. Like, I think Gary Vee is great at this, right? He says being kind is ROI positive, right? I'm going to pour everything I got into you for free because I know that it will help you. What you do with it is on you. And I have to be okay with that at the end of the day.
Dang. I love it, man.
Yeah.
I love it. That is awesome.
Look at that. Right on time.
Whew.
We've got a Facebook user interested in coaching.
So very true, agents, including myself, don't have a reliable game plan to follow. Interested in coaching program. Couple things about coaching program. Want to make something abundantly clear. It is free.
$0.
Free dollars. Yeah. Free dollars with an F. Not a Southern free, like Chris would say.
Facebook user, reach out to any one of us. Shoot us a comment or a message. When this wraps up, we'll probably be able to see who you are. Right now, it just says Facebook user because you're probably
in one of the groups.
Happy to get you dialed into the coaching we're talking about and get you spun up on your business.
Absolutely happy to help you. And it is true. Most agents don't have a plan. And it is detrimental to the business. And I'm looking at myself too. I'm always improving. So all I'm doing is trying to do better myself, take what I learn, take what I succeed at, and then help make that applicable, the processes to agents as well. And I'm pretty sure that's just what Chris and Walter do too, is that we just do our best. What we succeed in, we say, here's how we succeeded and how it can help you. And then what we failed at, we go, here's how we failed. Avoid that. Don't do that. So we'd love to connect with you. Anybody watching, listen, it's hard times right now. We're going to be here every Friday for the most part, unless kids get in the way, family first. But we're going to be here talking about topics like this, hard stuff. And we're going to go through scenarios. We're going to handle objections. We're going to talk about facts and data. We're going to continue to increase relevant information that we're bringing to you to help you through these difficult times as being an agent. And we've got a free coaching program. We don't care what team, brokerage, whatever you're at. It's every Tuesday. We'd love to plug you in too. So don't be shy. Leave us a comment. Send us a message. Please add us as a friend. We'll pour into you. We talk to hundreds and hundreds of agents a month, just trying to give them a little bit of help. And we want to help you too if you need help. New agent, top producer, team leader, brokerage owner. We all have our struggles, and we probably have resources, connections, advice, insight, whatever you need. So with that being said, thanks for being here, guys. I love what we discussed today. I think it was really important. I think we're going to have a lot more deep conversations like this coming forward with the current shift in the market. So with that being said, see you guys next Friday at 8 a.m. Central.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Later.
Bye.